This is Smokin Jamgrass. I'm Brian.
I'm Jolie, and we'd like to share with you the music we love, progressive bluegrass, and its roots. First and third Sundays of the month from 2 to 3 p.m. right here on KMUZ.
You and I headed straight into the west.
Hello and welcome to Smokin Jamgrass, where today we are picking up where we left off last in our interview with the great artist and legendary musician Peter Rowan.
Peter Rowan!
Yeah. We got music with Peter and the Kids featuring Molly Tuttle, Wyatt Ellis, Billy Strings, some classic stuff with Olden in the Way, the Free Mexican Airforce, and a whole bunch of cool conversation. Our interview with Peter Rowan is coming up next. Here he is with the David Nelson Band, somewhere in Hawaii in 2011. Smokin Jamgrass on KMUZ.
Well, if you ever feel lonesome, you're down in San Antonio, beg, steal, or borrow 2 nickels or a dime. Call me on the phone. I will meet you at Alamo Mission. We can say our prayer. The Holy Ghost and the Virgin Mother will heal us as we kneel there. ever feel lonesome and you're down in San Antonio, beg, steal, or borrow 2 nickels or a dime, call me on the phone. I will meet you at Alamo Mission. We can say our prayer. The Holy Ghost and the Virgin Mother will heal us as we kneel there. Yeah, in the moonlight, in the midnight, in the moonlight, midnight moonlight, in the moonlight, in the midnight, in the moonlight, midnight moonlight, in the moonlight, in the midnight, in the moonlight, midnight moonlight, in the moonlight, in the midnight, in the moonlight,
This is Smokin Jamgrass on KMUZ.
Yeah.
We just heard Moonlight Midnight
Classic.
as performed by the Any Naked Islander Band.
Woo! Get naked.
Whoa. Get naked with David Nelson Band and Peter Rowan.
Whoa.
David Nelson, of course, from the New Riders of the Purple Sage fame.
Yeah.
It's recorded from January 24th, 2011 at the Pirates Cove.
That was nice.
Yeah, it's nice and slick with the steel pedal.
And we are so very honored to have with us today Peter Rowan. Part 2 of the interview, the last one you can catch on YouTube.
Oh yeah.
So Peter, welcome back.
There's so you have such breadth and depth of experience and inspiration now to 4 generations of bluegrass musicians. Off your last album, Calling You From My Mountain, you have so many younger players on that album. I wanted to talk to you briefly about that. I know it's in the rear view at this point, and you're already doing stuff.
Well, of course, but we're still we're touring this summer exclusively with that outfit.
Oh, great! Oh, cool. Yeah, you have an immense. We looked at your tour schedule, and boy, oh boy, do you have a lot of events you're doing. You're playing a lot of shows.
Yeah, well, the band is very copacetic, and that whole type of situation evolved out of bluegrassers have survived as independent innovators, not only like independent contractors, hiring out, but bluegrassers really know how to work together.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so the efforts to play on the road with these guys, it's a 6-man effort, including my son Michael, who comes along and plays some and makes sure that I'm steering, going in the right direction.
Good.
Yeah, and playing with all these young kids, we saw you played recently, like Wyatt Ellis is up and coming.
Wyatt's already a name.
Isn't that something?
He was Chris, my mandolin player buddy, Chris Henry. He was a student during COVID. I think he went from playing really light string electric guitars, metal music, and, the stuff the kids love to play. He decided to get into bluegrass mandolin and took lessons from Chris Henry.
Oh, nice.
And in 3 years, he had gotten it.
Amazing.
In fact, and he's got one piece on the YouTube I saw. It's called the Winds of Rowan Mountain or something like that. And it's like, wow, he is, his composition skills are really coming along beautifully.
Yeah, we look forward to that.
I have to say, when we played in Raleigh, North Carolina for the Hall of Fame,
yes,
my Hall of Fame show, we did the Walls of Time, and he he did Bill Monroe's Kickoff absolutely note for note.
Perfect. Yes.
That's so awesome.
You know,
And
so these spirits are reincarnated with new inspiration and new approaches.
I love that. Taking the old and making it new. The so very talented Wyatt Ellis actually shared this recording with us of him with Peter Rowan and Molly Tuttle at the IBMA Awards in 2022. Last episode, we played this version. It was with Bill Monroe and Peter Rowan. And now it's Peter Rowan and the kids.
The echoes of the walls of time resound forever.
Wow. This is Smokin Jamgrass on KMUZ.
We used to drive that old bus called the Bluegrass Breakdown from Nashville, Tennessee, after we played the last show on the Grand Ole Opry, all the way to Gnawbone, Indiana, up to Bean Blossom, home of the Brown County Jamboree. Yeah. That old bus gave up the ghost in Horse Caves, Kentucky. I was standing outside the bus and Bill Monroe walked off. I was watching the sunrise over the mountains of Kentucky. Bill walks up to me and he sings this song. He says, "Listen good to this and don't you ever forget it." We wrote this one together. This is called The Walls of Time. Someday I'd return to these shores, the silver coastline white with waves, the heather green on the moor. For I have left a life behind. I lived as a gambling man, searching for that wild high card to play a winning hand. And I wandered into a smuggler's saloon, shadows dancing on the wall. At a table green we played our cards, and we drank from glasses tall. And next to me a woman wept, her eyes watching fortune and fame. And as I played my last high card, but I could not leave the game. Lady Luck is a coy mistress, both passionate and proud. I'm the fool who tries to find her face among the crowd, seeking her reflection. I could never see her face till I played my last high card and fell into her embrace. And now the game has ended at last in the cold gray light of dawn. The hands of time unties the blinds. In the morning we are gone, and the love we made is lingering like waves upon the sand. And as I breathe the cool morning air, I hold a winning hand.
Smokin Jamgrass on KMUZ. That is Peter Rowan with guest star Billy Strings on a 1944 Martin guitar. The song is called A Winning Hand from Peter Rowan's latest album, From My Mountain Calling You. And we're very fortunate to have Peter Rowan on the phone with us right now.
Peter, what'd you think of playing with the bluegrass phenomenon that is Billy Strings right now?
Yeah, well, I like Billy. I just, when I heard what he was doing, I just said to the engineer, just take my guitar out.
Well, you both have Thompson guitars, too. You have a signature Dreadnought guitar now as well, available from Preston Thompson Guitars here in Sisters in Oregon. About 13 left. But,
oh, that's good.
Yeah.
I'm glad some people want them.
They sound fantastic.
They really do.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. What do you think? What are your feelings on bluegrass now hitting the arena, the rock arena circuit?
Yeah.
Well, if you look back to C-Train, what were we doing when we played the Orange Blossom Special?
Yes.
We we were doing the same thing. You know, we were rocking it out as far as we could. And you know, because Orange Blossom Special had been such a showcase when Richard Green and I were with Bill Monroe, it was easy to like teach it to these guys who've been playing basically rock and roll, you know, or blues, you know, the Blues Project. So, I mean, it doesn't surprise me, but it's kind of like, whoa, yeah. I mean, when you hear what Billy does with it, it's a new generation, you know. These kids have grown up with television, where television was just coming in when I was just, you know, junior high age.
Wow, yeah.
And I remember the Spike Jones show, Spike Jones and his City Slickers, and it was the most fun music because it was completely irreverent, and they would just spoof everything, and they had banjos and everything in the band. But a guy like Billy and his generation, they've grown up with technology in a way where they're grown up accustomed to it.
Yes,
I'm sort of like not quite accustomed to it.
Hear that?
Yeah. You're not alone. It's Smokin Jamgrass on KMUZ. We just heard Orange Blossom Special by Old and in the Way, recorded from November 4th, 1973, with Peter Rowan and some of his buddies, Jerry Garcia, David Grisman, John Kahn, and the great Vassar Clements on fiddle.
Woo, diddle that fiddle, Vassar.
Yeah, it's really, what a great song.
Man.
Covered by so many, really made popular by Johnny Cash back in the day. And it's, the title of the song actually comes from the train Orange Blossom Special. That was a luxurious train that would take vacationers from New York and parts north down to Florida.
Oh.
Yeah, so they wanted to capitalize on the booming Florida vacation industry.
Citrus.
Nice. And speaking of nice, we got Peter Rowan on the phone today with us. I was reading somewhere that you recently been in the studio recording with Flaco Jimenez. Is that correct? Are you planning on it?
Yeah, we years ago in 1978 or something, I released some music with Flaco Jimenez playing accordion.
Yes.
And he's the guy who he played with Ry Cooder in Chicken Skin Music, and so I went back in with him over the last few months and re-recorded Free Mexican Airforce.
Awesome.
And did some new tunes, and we did one where Flaco is one of his favorites called Maria Elena, and it's a really nice version. And the band is called Los Tex Maniacs.
Yes, yes.
And, I will probably refer to the record as the Free Mexican Airforce. I don't know what will happen by then, but it's done, and it's
great.
And it's in some of its final form of mixing. It's good to give time, though, because over time you go, how does this hold up? If it was released like this, it would be, okay. So you because recording has become so detailed and is much more subtle. Well, there's two things. You can be much more subtle in terms of what you highlight because of the modern digital, recordings and ways of editing.
Right.
And you can also hear things differently. Well, there's a lot of complaints, of course, that tape was a better medium.
Mm-hmm. Yes, analog.
So you got one challenge is to make that digital sound be something that the best of tape had, which is various ways of. Well, I'll put it this way. I get a little long-winded about it, but how to make a mix interesting, because you can isolate things like, if you have a drum fill that sounds just like it's part of the track, and of course there'd be a drum fill there, but you can also go into the files, as they were, not tracks, but files.
Right.
And you can refine in each instrument's own particular sound.
Yes.
And whether that can be heard or not, it remains to be further, development of that little section of the tune. But let's say you like a drum fill, but it sounds like it's just part of the track. Well, you can go in and you can sculpt the files and sounds.
Nice.
Like right around that 10 seconds of what you want to be like really grab people's attention. And you can sculpt around it, put a little delay and echo and reverb and highlight it so that it is now its own little piece of music. And so when it comes by in the song, it's more, sort of an explosive sound of that section. The Beatles did it, the Stones have done it all along.
Yes.
You used to have to do it by hand. You'd ride the instrument, but not too much. You'd ride it. You'd boost it from 4.5 to 6 for maybe one beat. And then the reggae players, they learned from mixing and this whole thing of dub music.
Yeah.
Developed.
Yeah.
And now dub music is the basis of all this hip hop that you hear now.
Yes.
in the dub sounds, they could. It was usually the B side of the record, which is the instrumental stuff, and the engineer having fun, just kind of isolating and lifting pieces and combining them. And then reggae players listened to what the engineers did and began to reproduce that on stage. For instance, Carlton Barrett, who played with Bob Marley, and his brother was Family Man Barrett, played bass. Well, Carlton had these little snappy drum fills, and it's like, how do you cut through? How do you add something to cut through the general, the general volume of music?
Uh-huh.
And the reggae drum fills, if you listen to them, they're like timbali hits. They're all tuned a little higher. And I found out that reggae players often would use a second snare drum tuned up high.
Oh.
To do it became a high tom. A high tom-tom.
Yes.
So, in rock and roll, like the Stones, you can't always get what you want. Those drum fills are down in that low tom-tom area where, Ringo Starr's expertise was, and of course they all played that way. But, George Martin highlighted that, the Ringo, sound. And so you got reggae players innovating from recordings that they've heard and finding ways to cut through the musical mass on their own. And dub playing taught a lot of folks that. They learned how to play that way, play their own echo.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not all machines.
Yes.
It was machines on the mix, but then the musicians heard it and went, yeah, we can do that, man. Right. Yeah, and go back.
Yeah.
You play your own echo. Mm-hmm. And those high tom fills, especially the ones that Carlton Barrett played, became a signature,
Yeah.
They weren't lost in the mix. They were like, oh, real beautiful highlight,
Grab a cup of coffee, grab a cup of tea. A fistful of dollars and a jar of the lees. Way to make a living, weeping and a wailing, pulling the devil by the tail, pulling the devil by the tail. Yeah, up to the bar, up to the bottle, into the jalopy, open up the throttle. Oh, the ground is wet and the sky is pale, pulling the devil by the tail, pulling the devil by the tail. You hold the secret in your arms, a brand new baby and a box of charms. Oh, the falling snow in the crimson sail, pulling the devil by the tail, pulling the devil by the tail. Yeah. Authority, snap to attention to the voice of superiority. Ignore all alien orders, I say without fail, or you'll be pulling the devil by the tail, or you'll be pulling the devil by the tail.
Folks, we're going to end with our theme song here. The Free Mexican Air Force is flying tonight. 1, 2, 3. In the Morelos Mountains, campesinos are planting their fields, where the ghost of Zapata rides a horse that can still outrun the wheel. High in the sky above, clear out of sight, is the Free Mexican Air Force flying tonight. In the hills around Colorado, cowgirls cooling her heels, remembering God gave us herbs and the fruits of the field. But a criminal law that made outlaws of those seeking life make the Free Mexican Air Force Mescalito riding his white horse. The Free Mexican Air Force is flying tonight. We were flying so high. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, okay, buddy. Sweet sensimilla. Oh, the law wants it all. They think that the wild weed can free us. Freedom for us is a prison for the rulers of might. Yeah, and the Free Mexican Air Force, Mescalito riding his wife. The Free Mexican Air Force is flying tonight. Everybody flying so high. Yeah. Flying tonight. Thank y'all. Have a wonderful time.
It's Smokin Jamgrass on KMUZ, our Peter Rowan special, part 2.
Yeah.
We just heard the Free Mexican Air Force doing their title track from Telluride in 2018. Yeah, buddy. And before that was Pulling the Devil by the Tail off of Peter's revolutionary reggaebilly from 2005, the mixing of bluegrass and reggae. One Love.
I have to say, that recording of the Free Mexican Air Force from Kodo, thank you, Kodo, at Telluride, that sounds so good.
We love Kodo, and we love the Telluride Bluegrass Festival, and we love Peter Rowan, and we're lucky enough to have him on the line with us today. Yeah, there's a lot of fans of the Free Mexican Air Force, first off, that are very excited that you're doing that again. Yes, and that you're back with Flacco. And then also now going into reggae, the reggaebilly album and the Crucial Reggae was such a different, you're bringing in this whole other genre into bluegrass festivals. And it was just groundbreaking, with the whole progression of progressive bluegrass,
Always something new.
Yeah, but they're really fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah, it's really great to hear you tell these stories. It seems like you have, you're clearly a very creative and artistic person who really appreciates and looks into the past to find what the future is. It's just really cool to hear your stories, Peter.
All the connections. All the connections.
Well, yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun to see things that way.
Yeah.
And there's always more.
Yes, we're so lucky to have. I was just thinking. You have so many classic songs, but nobody. And a lot of people cover your music, but nobody can do "Land of the Navajo" like you. Could you just talk a little bit about your inspiration on that song, when you wrote it, and how that came about?
Yeah, I was driving across the country. I had finished with C Train in San Antonio and written Midnight Moonlight, and I told the band leaders, I said, now that you've got this other guitarist in here, I'd be happy to keep going. And I think they were a little put off. They thought I was angling to be the lead singer, like the rock singer with the backup band. And in a way, I wasn't thinking of that, but in a way, that's what I was doing, because I would never have been doing what I was doing, which was playing guitar. But when you've got another guy who's covering those really basic rhythm parts, then you can on guitar. I felt I could add a little more melodic, warmth, flavor to the thing. But it wasn't to be. It's just like when you decide not to do something anymore and you let everybody know. It's not like, a hockey player going, I've decided I like to be with my team, and they say, oh, well, God, we didn't want you to leave anyway. It's not like that.
Right.
It's kind of like, well, you've made your decision, and people are just trained to say, you've made your decision, you're moving on, goodbye. And you were the one who said you were leaving, so go on.
Yeah, right.
I was driving across the country, and a friend of mine had told me about this spot out in southern Utah where you can look out over all of the Navajo reservation, and see all the sacred mountains to the south.
Yes.
And if anybody would be curious, it's called Muley Point, Muli.
Okay.
And it's above a little town called Mexican Hat. Yes. And it's visited daily, and especially by Navajo people, different people. And at the time, I could camp out there, and I think you still can.
Oh.
And you wake up in the morning, and the cool air from the canyon is right on the banks of the San Juan River, the goosenecks there, or the snakebacks. And the cooler weather is rising up from the canyon and bringing all the birds up with it.
Wow.
Cool.
Right? Because the warmer air is up above, and it's drawing the cold air up. And all these birds that have been down by the river, which is like a half a mile down, are coming up out of the canyon at sunrise. So that's where I wrote In the Land of the Navajo.
Wow.
It was just something I was trying to put together in my mind based on the history of the Native Americans. So I wrote this. It's like a metaphor, of the white guy who's got all the treasure, and he wants to finally, in his dying moments, wants to kind of like surrender his winnings back to the Native American guy, and the Native American guy just smiles and leaves his body, and the white guy, One-Eyed Jack, named for a Marlon Brando movie. One-Eyed Jack is left with his treasure, and he dances out into the desert, casting his turquoise stones into the sky as a kind of spontaneous offering. And that was satisfying to finally get that. That was my interpretation of the whole situation.
That's really nice.
Great story.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
100 miles from nowhere out on the desert sand. One-eyed Jack the trader held some turquoise in his hand. And by his side sat Running Elk, his longtime Indian friend. He vowed that he would stay by Jack until the bitter end. And Jack had gambled everything he owned to lead this wander life. He might have had a happy home or a tender loving wife. His hunger was for trading trappers' furs for turquoise stone. Anything that the Indians had, Jack wanted for his own. Oh, the wind blows cold on the trail of the buffalo. Oh, the wind blows cold in the land of the Navajo. Yeah, the land of the Navajo. Said Jack to Running Elk, I'll gamble all my precious stones before I leave my body here among these bleaching bones. For now my time is drawing near and I'm filled with dark regret. My spirit longs to journey as the sun begins to set. We raped and killed, we stole your land, we ruled with guns and knives. Fed whiskey to your warriors while we stole away your wives. Said Running Elk, what's done is done, you white men rule this land. So lay the cards face up and play your last broken-hearted hand. Oh, the wind blows cold on the trail of the buffalo. The Navajo. When you're dealing cards with death, the joker's wide, the ace is high. Jack bet the Mississippi River, Running Elk raised him the sky. The Jack saw him with the sun and moon and upped him with the stars. Running Elk bet the Rocky Mountains, Jupiter and Mars. And the sun was sinking in the west when Jack drew the ace of spades. Running Elk just rolled his eyes, he smiled and passed away. Jack picked up his turquoise stones and cast them to the sky. He stared into the setting sun and it made a mournful cry. Oh, the wind blows cold on the trail of the buffalo. Oh, the wind blows cold in the land of the Navajo. In the land of the Navajo.
Smokin Jamgrass on KMUZ, Land of the Navajo, recorded at the, believe it or not, Telluride Bluegrass Festival in 1994. Buddy. That was from the album Crucial Country, along with Jerry Douglas, Sam Bush, the king of Telluride there.
Sammy.
Larry Attenbuck on the drums, Victor Krause on the bass, and Kester Smith on percussion. That was on the album released in June of 2006. Peter Rowan is on the line. This is part 2 of our interview on Smokin Jamgrass. And by the way, part 1 is on our YouTube channel if you want to find it and subscribe.
Yeah, hit the button.
A really fascinating insight into Peter Rowan when we talked about his memoirs in that last episode.
Yes.
Where he started back east and then he headed south and finally he headed here out west.
The West is best.
Well, I have to say, coming west was a liberation. Jerry Garcia was such a fine host to my efforts in music, and he did a lot for me. Really, in terms of recognition and potential commercial success, it was really all Jerry Garcia's doing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure the record companies and everything that all helped and everything in some way, but those who paid attention to things like Earth Opera, it was a very sort of it was a very select kind of an audience that had the patience to kind of sit through the kind of subterranean sounds we were making, and to come to the West Coast and to be working with Jerry, who was 10 years into the Grateful Dead, was like we came from so much of the same places musically that, and he was in such a position of influence and power at the time. He just made everything easy for us,
Nice.
for a while, and but dedication and focus was something that he had too. That people take that for granted. A tremendous amount of follow through in his work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I'm so glad that you made your way west.
Yes, no doubt.
South and then west.
I mean, I'm probably one of many, Peter. But when I grew up a Deadhead, and I got the Old and the Way album, and that's what got me into bluegrass. So, thank you.
Happy to hear that.
Thank you so much, because it's really it's opened up all these different avenues of expression and art and appreciation and love. So thank you very much.
Lots of love to you guys. Thank you so much. I'll be up there playing my Thompson guitar before too long. I don't know when, but
all right.
Nice.
We'll look for you.
Yes, Oregon loves you, and thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it, Peter.
Exactly.
I appreciate it. Everybody, hello. See you soon.
Much love.
Bye.
Wow.
Boy, howdy. Were we lucky? What a nice guy to take time out of his busy schedule to talk to a little
so busy
community radio. And golly, he's still out there doing this stuff, man. It's just amazing.
So grateful to Peter Rowan. Thank you. Also have to say thanks to KMUZ for putting us on the air here. A side note, programming-wise, we will only be having a new show once a month, the first Sundays of each month. Here on KMUZ.
We do this because we love it. And we love everybody that's tuning in.
Yes.
Sorry we had to go down to one time a month, and we promise to bring it every month.
Every month.
We're only doing one, so we're going to bring it all for once a month.
Never give up.
No, we're on it, and we love all our listeners, and we love KMUZ for putting us on. Big love to Peter Rowan and the legacy he's put in place for us all as he continues to unravel new stuff. It's amazing.
Shall I say it or you? Both of us.
Oh,
Much love.